My fear would be for the survival of the church, that a nonprofit status of the church might be impacted if Proposition 8 did not pass.
The churches have been turned into hate factories, dividing America.
California, strike loud and clear, sodomites.
How can a church influence a state's constitution to such an organized degree?
First Amendment rights state freedom of religion. That freedom will be severely impacted, if not removed, if same-sex marriage is allowed.
My pastor wouldn't be able to speak from the pulpit his moral conviction that it's a moral issue without being accused of hate speech and hate crime.
If I'm in a loving, committed relationship, then I should be able to get the same rights as everybody else.
America is supposed to be the bastion of freedom and hope and of civil rights, and look what we're doing here.
Well, there has been widespread criticism of the Mormon and Catholic Church for supporting and funding the fight against gay marriage. So the question is, do you think the church should stay out of state and political issues? That's what we're talking about today. For same-sex marriage, Gloria Allred is here, Joe Salmonese, and San Francisco Mayor Gavin Newsom. Against gay marriage are Reverend Jim Garlow, Maggie Gallagher, and Jeff Flint. Reverend Garlow, is this something where the church is getting into state business?
Well, it's very interesting. When we talk about separation of church and state, that comes from the writing of Thomas Jefferson, January 1st, 1802, in a letter he wrote to Nathaniel Dodge. And in that letter, he was not applying it the way it's being misapplied continually by those who want to silence any Christian. The fact is, I didn't check my brains or my convictions or my Bible when I formed my view. I have a right to form a view. They have a right to form a view the exact same way. That's not a problem. But what they don't have a right to do is try to intimidate, to throw bricks through windows of churches, to paint swastikas on churches. It's been happening all over the state. We're monitoring. And while Gavin Newsom and I were discussing on Larry King Friday night, while we were discussing in a very civil fashion, during that time, 13 kids who play the guitar and play worship songs on the streets of San Francisco every Friday night, they were being chased by an angry mob. They were being knocked down. 2 of the girls were injured in this process. Video footage of all of it. That doesn't need to be happening. That needs to stop.
And Reverend, but this is, may I, Dr. Phil, because this is important. Look, it is wrong to do those things, as it's wrong on the other side. Let me assure you, Reverend, there were example after example during 2004 when we were doing the wedding ceremonies, example after example in the last months when we were legally doing weddings where people disrupted those weddings, disrupted real people's lives. Let's not act as victims here. It's wrong for some people to do it, it's wrong to others. But let me just say this. Dr. Phil, I want to say this. It's wrong.
It shouldn't be happening.
Then
join with us and be crying to protest.
And you do the same. You have the courage to stand up.
I've never done that
on the same principle.
I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it.
Here's the point, though, Dr. Phil. The issue
Hold
of
on.
the church. I think people, look, we're talking about civil marriages, not religious marriages. They are different. And I respect people of faith having a different opinion on these things. Look, we have not told the church what to believe on divorce. We haven't told the church what to believe on choice, on stem cell research, or on birth control. The religious institutions have been protected from civil laws and government organized points of view. And so that will maintain itself in a separate track on the issue of gay marriage as well. I don't think there's anything that people of faith should be worried about in that respect.
Let me ask you both sides this, because we started out by saying about children getting chased and different things happening like that. Have both sides have factions that have gone too far, threatened people, blacklisted people, done things to intimidate voters in this election?
I think.
I don't think that's true, but if it is, I'll uniformly condemn it. We don't have websites with the donors who voted no on Prop 8 with kind of urging a Netroots attack to go dig up dirt on them, calling up their business. We have at least 2 people who've lost their jobs. We have artists being blacklisted. And by the way, the problem is not that this is happening on the ground, but there is no, as far as I can see, no voices on the other side. The Los Angeles Times actually endorsed this horrifying ad targeting the LDS Church, a religious minority. If they had put an ad with 2 guys in yarmulkes and said, look, the Jews are donating too much money, they're invading your homes, everyone would know that was wrong.
Should same-sex marriage be legal? We'll talk about next. The couple taking this fight to the Supreme Court. We'll be right back.
Have you heard?
Sunday, March 4th, 10, 9 Central, only on OWN.
They are the lesbians who started this all, and they're the Rosa Parks of our fight for equality.
We were the first couple allowed to get married in Los Angeles County. When we lost, we cried for about an hour. We've gone into our suits and we filed a petition with the Supreme Court.
They're trying to undo our I do.
This is about marriage equality. It is not about race or religion.
This is not the end of the battle of the long war.
We will get it because we're going to stay in the streets until we do.
Well, rallies like that one have broken out across the country. Attorney Gloria Allred is representing those women. What I'm wondering about is this backlash issue for both sides of this, because each of you say the other has used intimidation techniques or threatened people. Maggie, you were just saying they do it, but we don't do it.
No, I said that if it's happened on my side, I will unilaterally condemn it. But I don't think, for example, the ads that we ran in favor of Prop 8 can be described as anything like what was run against us on the other side in terms of calling people who disagree with us haters and targeting religious minorities.
All right, hold on. Listen, we're not going to get anywhere yelling. Let me just ask you about this, because, and I've got an example for each side, and I think, because I have to tell you, I've talked to a lot of people after this election that have really been turned off, people that voted for this side that are turned off, and people that voted by this side that are turned off by the action since then. And you say that you don't condone it, but protectmarriage.com, there was a letter requesting that a recipient withdraw its support of the other side, that threatened to publish names of companies and organizations if they didn't make a donation of $10,000. And that was signed by campaign chairman and executive director. Is that right?
Yes. The letter said.
Is that right to do?
I believe. Well, let me tell you what, and your folks, what the letter said. The letter said that we thought that you would want to know that you probably have a number of people on our side of the issue that would want to know whether you're only doing one side of this or not, and let us know if you're making a statement on this issue because you feel very strongly on the no on 8 position or something else. We wanted people to give an opportunity to explain that.
I don't really like it, but there is a difference between threatening to boycott a business and going after individuals. You have to disclose your employer information to donate, and they're going after people's employers and flooding their businesses to try to make it impossible for these people to make a living. Individuals. I already said I don't like it, but there's a difference between boycotting a business.
Okay, let me ask the question. Let me ask the question. The letter threatened to publish the names of companies and organizations that supported Equality California, but chose not to donate in a like manner to protectmarriage.com.
Correct.
Is that right to do?
The letter was sent to people who were already listed on the Equality California site and said, it basically asked if they would like to make a contribution to the other side or if they were picking a side, and that's all it did. So it was a list of companies that were already on there. We never published it because the names were already published on the No on 8 website.
But did the letter threaten to?
We didn't publish the names.
Okay, but it did threaten to, and that's intimidation. And let me tell you, it happened on this side as well. Make no mistake. And you say that's wrong.
Right. It's wrong on both sides. But let's get back to this point. California just did something extraordinary. Californians, for the first time in their history, changed the Constitution to take people's rights away. Tens of thousands of people's lives were devastated and uprooted. We changed the Constitution, a Constitution that since the Bill of Rights has been changed 17 times, each and every time to expand people's rights, not to deny people's rights. This was a devastating day for people. I want to go back to the human beings behind this, whose lives have been.
Okay, I've got to go to break. Up next, we've got two couples with very different ideas of what a marriage should be. And the whole idea that I'm trying to get to is an understanding of what each side feels and why they feel that way. So I'm going to let each side choose somebody to kind of make an overall, maybe closing argument in this issue. We'll be right back.
We got a real...
We live in a democracy. 30 states in a row have said marriage is one man, one woman. We either favor the rights of 3% of the adult population, or we favor the rights of children. When Rosie O'Donnell told her child why she wanted to have two mommies in the home, she says it's because mommy wants two mommies. I don't think that's a good enough reason. I think we ought to ask what's best for the child.
Well, what would you do if you married the love of your life and suddenly you were told that your marriage wasn't legal because your partner was the same sex? That's what we're discussing today, same-sex marriage. Is it right or wrong? Whose rights does it violate? David and Bob say it's definitely the right thing.
We're just a couple down the block with two kids. We take the kids to school every day, we pay our taxes, take the kids to the park. There's nothing out of the ordinary.
Marriage connotes permanence, and I think that that's why marriage is so important. When the ban on same-sex marriage was lifted, if we were jubilant, we were going to get what everybody else in this country gets.
As we were planning our wedding, there was this clock ticking.
And we knew that Proposition 8 had a very big chance of passing.
After Proposition 8 passed on Election Day, I just felt betrayed. I felt angry. This is an absolute violation of our civil rights. We want the legal protections of what marriage offers. We want the best for our children. We just want to be equal.
Our marriage is definitely in limbo right now. We don't know if the government's going to go into the courthouse and take our marriage license and shred it. Now we don't feel the same as everybody else. We feel like second-class citizens.
We deserve equal treatment under the law.
If it's us now, then who's it going to be next?
It's our marriage today. Is it our kids tomorrow?
Well, not everyone agrees on this issue. Another couple, Jennifer and Dan, say marriage should remain the union of one man and one woman.
Marriage, it is an institution that is one man and one woman.
To me, it's an issue of maintaining what God has oriented from the beginning.
Biblically speaking, the homosexual lifestyle is sinful. The reason that those couples in the gay community want the word marriage, it's a validation of their lifestyle. They're wanting to redefine the family code. It's one step further away from traditional values.
When Massachusetts legalized gay marriage,
In Massachusetts, where same-sex marriages are legal, they're bringing in literature, as young as second grade, stories of two kings marrying.
When the gay marriages were legal in California, up in San Francisco, a first grade class went to the gay wedding of their teacher.
During the election time, my 8-year-old son had come to me and said, "Mom, if Prop 8 doesn't pass, do I have to marry a boy?"
All the hype about this is really creating confusion, not only with my child, but with other children.
I do not believe that the gay community has lost their civil rights. What they did lose is just the word marriage.
David, are you concerned that with the passage of this proposition here in California, that your marriage will now be rescinded or invalidated?
We don't know. We're in limbo. We haven't heard anything yet, so we're waiting. And I have to say, having the right, 18,000 couples married in California since May. And so those marriages, if they're allowed to have their marriages, we're allowed to keep our marriages, it's a little bit of a hollow victory to be the only ones in California to win that right. What does it mean for everybody?
And Jennifer, tell me how you think these two California residents being recognized as married by the state of California erodes the institution of your marriage.
It's more of a matter of the sanctity of marriage itself being between a man and a woman. For me, if it takes away from the church's rights to speak as they do, or for the schools, what's going to be taught in the schools, it will change because it has changed. And that's my biggest concern.
And David, what do you want to say?
Well, I just wanted to say that, when we get into religion, we cannot tell you your religion isn't real and valid. It is. You have your beliefs. We have our beliefs. We were married by a rabbi. We had the prayer shawl, the Jewish prayer shawl around us with our families. My parents are Holocaust survivors. They know persecution. So they are so embracing of our life because we have what you have. Look at our videos. They look the same. You read to your kids. We gave our kids bath. We made dinner. So what we have is what you have. And all we want to do is hope that we can do this with...
All right. Now, I've got to go to a break. Is there a way to bridge the gap? Is there a way to find common ground in some way between these two sides? Because I have to tell you, I'm really bothered by... I love that everybody is passionate about it, but I am bothered by some of the behavior on both sides since then. You know, I've got story after story of there being demonstrations in front of a restaurant where one person on the staff made a donation. I wonder if that's the best way to get where we want to go. We got to be passionate, but we also have to come together and talk about it. I'm going to ask Gloria to weigh in on that when we come back.
All new. Only on OWN.
We will continue our fight until every one of us has the fundamental right to marry, to live in liberty and freedom, to be able to participate, to have the full civil rights that we expect in this great country we love so much.
All my African American friends are profoundly offended when they try to equate this with the civil rights movement.
Well, the question in America today is this same-sex marriage right or wrong? That's what we've been debating today. People are very, very passionate about it. I'm always looking for a way to bring people together, to find some way for everybody to get what they want and be happy. Gloria, is there a way to dial down the rhetoric and up the unity? I mean, we're all Americans, and what we're talking about are people that seem to want the same things in their lifestyle in terms of having children and a home and all of that. Is there a way to do this?
I think the way is to focus on what our courts are saying and what our constitutional rights are. Dr. Phil, the California Supreme Court, they are the ultimate guardians of our constitutional right. And they are the ones who protect our rights, even against, I have to say, the whim of the majority at any particular point in time. And our California Supreme Court, in our case, the marriage cases that were before it, decided that it is a violation of the Equal Protection Clause of our California Constitution to make distinctions between same-gender couples and opposite-sex couples, that would be a mark of second-class citizenship for same-gender couples, that would be a violation of their rights, and they are not going to allow the continued discrimination against same-gender couples. They are going to say, and they have said in the past, no religious person is going to be required to perform a marriage, Dr. Phil. This does not involve what a religious person can say. It only involves a marriage license, that which the government can give. And no one is going to be denied a marriage license in California because we are protected under our California.
We're running out of time. That didn't sound very conciliatory. Jim, is there a way, is there common ground here, or is this just something about which you're going to have to agree to disagree, and the government's just going to have to man up, take a position, and stay with it? Is there a way to find common ground?
Well, I think one way there is, we can't philosophically, but one way that I would hope we would agree is the acts of violence need to stop. And in the first few seconds, the name calling, I don't want discourse, there's name calling. Let's speak more respectfully. I think that's a starting point. Let's try to keep the conversation. The truth of the matter is, this is the most vetted amendment in the history of the United States with the amount of money. There was more people, the same percentage voted for Prop 8 as elected this man to mayor originally in his city. more people voted on Prop 8, yes and no, than the combined total in California that voted for Obama and McCain together. This has been examined microscopically, never. And so the result is in a conversation we can have with each other, we can converse with each other, and we also don't have to at the same time.
All right, we'll be right back.
All news. Sunday, March 4th, 10/9 Central, only on OWN.
Well, we've only scratched the surface here, but I would like to thank Attorney Gloria Allred, President of Human Rights Campaign Joe Salmonese, San Francisco Mayor Gavin Newsom, Pastor Jim Garlow, Maggie Gallagher of the National Organization of Marriage, and Jeff Flint of Schubert Flint Public Affairs for joining in our debate today. I'd also like to thank everybody in the audience for being part of the show today, and for those of you at home, I hope we've given you some additional insight into this most important issue. Thanks for being here.